Please welcome my guest, Yusha Assad, a successful hip-hop musician, educator, and spoken word artist. As a musician, Yusha has opened up for major artists such as The Game, K. Michelle, Brandy, Scarface, Ja Rule, August Alsina, and too many to name here. Yusha believes that success must be built with the hands and hearts of people and not off their backs. He uses his music to connect, inspire, and challenge listeners to live life with great care, also the name of his apparel company. Yusha is a beyond talented artist and an amazing human being. I am so grateful I was able to meet him and speak with him on this podcast. It's Not What You Think podcast is available on YouTube and Spotify, so please like, comment, share, or subscribe on your favorite platform. That support is enough to continue to allow us to produce this show. Our interviews are with people who may have opinions different from yours or mine, so while we keep an open mind, just remember, it's not what you think. How's your week going so far?
Thank you for having me here on this podcast. This week has actually been really good, really great. Today specifically, I got a 4 a.m. start. Got some prayer and some spiritual time in this morning. Got a 5:30 a.m. workout in. And whenever I get my day started like that, it's going to be a good day. How about yourself?
Yeah, same thing. I'm not up quite that early, but I know when I sleep late till 6:30 or 7, it's like all of a sudden half the day is gone. So for sure, I have a number of dogs, and they kind of rule the roost in terms of what time we get up. So anyway, so thanks for joining me. I know that the decision to come on this podcast was probably different than other interviews or podcasts you've done. So definitely welcome. I appreciate it. I've read an incredible amount about you. I've listened to, I want to say all your music that's available on the internet, interviews. And what I've learned is that your spirituality and beliefs are imbued in pretty much everything you do and say. I found it to be very inspiring, and that's why I'm in a breath of fresh air. So I really appreciate you and appreciate you coming on. So let's start at the beginning. Can you share a little bit about how you came to your spiritual path? Whether it's in Christianity or in Islam, just kind of like what was your evolution there? I knew you grew up in a spiritual home. I'm sure that must be part of it, regardless of the religion.
Yeah, I definitely grew up in a religious home, and my father was. By the time I was born, my father was a Baptist minister. My mother had gotten into the church as well, and originally I'm from North Carolina. So North Carolina is in the Bible Belt. That southeastern region of the United States is called the Bible Belt. So everybody kind of grows up in church. I would say that the religion aspect was greater than the spiritual aspect in terms of relationship that I might have had with God at the time. But of course, growing up in church, you get all of the Bible, all of the kid Bible stories. You get the context. And one of the great scriptures is, if you train a child up in the way that they should go, when they get old, they'll never go astray. And what I learned that meant for me, right, in a very important time of my life, when I needed to revisit the things that I was taught in my early childhood, was that whatever you embed in the consciousness of your child is going to stay there. And we learn that in education too. As an educator, we learn that the first 5 years, 0 to 5, is very pivotal to the identity of the child. And if you embed those things in there, so that's kind of where spirituality started for me. It started whether advertently or like inadvertently, hearing the scriptures, hearing the stories, having scripture poured into my consciousness, along with a whole host of other things.
I would, that makes a lot of sense. And I would also think that aside from that, which is very important, is just you seeing and feeling your parents and their devotion. I would think that gets absorbed as well, whether we know it or not. So
it does, man. And not to talk about my parents, like I love my parents, they were great people, but I think as children, because we hold our parents in such high esteem and high regard, we can be very critical and judgmental of our parents. So even as a youngin', for my parents to be so hard on me about things and so strict on me about things, especially as related to church and God and word, if I saw any contradiction in them, it was an opportunity for me to be like, how you gonna hold me accountable for that and you don't do it? You know what I mean? Like it was an argument, or an attempted argument, because you couldn't really argue with my parents. You know, I grew up, like I said, I grew up in the Bible Belt. You could catch a switch real quick.
So we actually have that, that in common, because I grew up, my father's a rabbi. He's now 93 years old, and is a very relatively religious household. And of course, now I've been a Buddhist for 40 years, since I was 21, so a little bit more than that. And then I went to a very religious school, and we're going to get into the education thing in a moment. So I saw a lot of similarities there in your story, because I know that I think your pathway into Islam was related to your brother came home, and he, I guess, became a Muslim first. So he kind of broke the ice a little bit, which unpleasant to your parents. And then you kind of, I don't want to tell your story. You jump in there.
Yeah. I don't know if he broke the ice. I think he may have thickened the ice.
Okay.
You know,
right.
It was, you know, like I said, my brother pretty much was like, you know, he came home. It's like, hey, Mom, I found God, but yeah, God found me. You know, my mom was like, praise Jesus. My brother goes, I'm a Muslim. She's like, get out of my house.
Right.
And of course, that wasn't the exact conversation, but that was what happened.
That's the energy.
Yeah, it's the energy. Like, get out of my house. And so my transition to Islam was more along of like, I was dating a woman at the time. I was dating a young lady, and she was Muslim. And all that I had been taught about Christianity caused me to believe, all that I had been taught caused me to believe that if a person didn't accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, they were going to hell. And out of an act of love, I wanted to bring the lady that I cared for and my brother back to salvation, because I didn't want to see them go to hell. And so what I decided to do was read the Bible. It's the first time I started reading the Bible front to back like a book. Because before then, it was just scriptures that we read in church, or scriptures that you would read at home with your parents when my dad would do certain studies. But I had never really read it for myself. So I'm like, I really need to understand the book. So I started reading it. So I get through a lot of the book, and then I kind of skip some of the Old Testament. I go into the New Testament. I read the whole New Testament. Revelations was a rocker, by the way. Revelations has always been a rocker.
Sure.
And then I'm like, all right, I need to know what's in this Quran. Something in me told me that if I could read the Quran, I could use the Bible.
Perfect.
And I could know what my loved ones were learning, and I could dispel it.
Great idea.
Dispel it, right? Dispel. So one day I'm walking on campus, because I was in college at the time. I'm walking on campus. I walk by the library, and I get this notion to like go see if the library has a Quran, because I don't know where to get one from. And so I go into the library. Remember, this is Winston-Salem, North Carolina. This is still a Bible Belt. I go into the library, and I walk into the librarian, and I'm like, hey,
yeah,
you got a Quran? She said, huh? I said, is there a Quran in here? She said, Quran? Oh, you want a Quran? Oh, okay. And I'm looking at her like, lady.
Yeah.
Know, first of all, we in a library, so calm down. But secondly, like, why are you trying to put me out there like that? Right? I don't want to be scrutinized for reading it. So she gives me the book, and before I read it, I'm just like, God, reveal to me the truth so that I can bring my brother and this lady that I love back to salvation. When I tell you the Quran was a page turner, it was a true page turner for me. Like, I couldn't stop reading it. And the reason why I couldn't stop reading it is because the more I read it, the more I was like, how is any of this not true? Like, all of this is true. Like, this is the same stuff I read in the Bible. Like, if this is what the Muslims are reading, why are Muslims and Christians not getting along?
Yeah, what's the problem?
I don't see no falsehood here. And of course, I did my due diligence to dive into the stories that the Quran tells about Jesus and Abraham and Joseph. I love the story of Joseph in the Quran. I know the story of Joseph in the Bible. It's the same story, it's just some little additions, some clarifications. But I'm reading, I'm like, I can't find no falsehood. So the truth is, like, once I read the book to condemn it, but it condemned me. And I'm one of those people that understand that, like, once you're given truth, once you've been made aware of something, and you can resonate with that as truth, you have to live according to what you know, or you'll be out of integrity with your own wisdom, with what you know.
Yeah, truth with a capital T. So, what's funny is you were reading something that you were resisting, and it actually increased your faith. That's the irony of it and the beauty of it. And then I heard on one podcast you said something like, I couldn't understand why Christians and Muslims weren't working together. Like, what's going on here? Now that you saw what was behind the curtain. So, and my experience is, I got a lot of resistance from my family, my teachers, and my culture against looking outside what they were teaching you. And it was a threat. You were threatening. And it's fear in my mind, and feel free to jump in here. It's also fear-based and generational, meaning your parents, I guess, and my parents, they were afraid. They were afraid I was going to go over there. And I would think that would be similar with you. It's a fear-based thing, whether you're not going to go to heaven or you're not going to grow up a real gentleman or whatever it was. There's fear.
Yeah, I think, right, when we look at how institutionalized religion has been used over time, institutionalized religion, especially being adopted by governments, was really used for control. And you're talking about, if we really be honest, right, we're talking about an African-American people that was given Christianity as a way to control them.
Right.
Was given the picture of a Caucasian or white Jesus as a method of saying this is what God looks like. All of that does an incredible thing to your psyche. So growing up,
Jesus, who is from the Middle East, by the way.
Right.
White Jesus.
Right. So all of that is a form of control. So the preaching of hellfire and brimstone is about scare, like you said, fear. I'm going to scare you into doing what I want you to do, because if you do what I want you to do, that makes my life more comfortable.
Right.
My life becomes uncomfortable if you do what best serves you, because then I can't use you. Because the truth is, if I'm really walking in my spirit, I don't need you. God has given me everything that I already need, but I can't use you if you don't do what I want you to do. And so to do what I want you to do, I got to keep you under my control. And that's to give you fear. And that's been institutionalized racism since, religions were running around doing crusades.
I think I agree. And I think there's another fear aspect, which is if you are successful becoming a gentleman and a good human being in some other religion, then I've got to start asking myself a lot of questions about my religion, because my religion's the only religion. It's the only way. And if you're out there doing something else that works, then how can that possibly be? So there's a whole conflict that grows inside. And we had that in our family as well. And I remember when I was in high school, I went to a Seals and Crofts concert in New York City, and these guys were Baha'i. And at the end of the concert, they said, "Hey, if anyone wants to talk about the Baha'i, we're happy to stay around and talk." And I was so made to be so afraid. It's like 16, 17 years old, because I was growing up religious. Oh my God, the Baha'i, what's going to happen? Oh my God. Because that's the culture, and that was what was inculcated by my parents, my teachers, and my community. What should have happened was I should have been able to my state of mind should have been say, "Hey, let me check this out." And then accept it, or say, "Hey, it's not for me." But at least let me check it out. Wasn't allowed. So, and I think that's related, got here a lot faster than I expected to where the country is at now. A lot of fanning of the flames of fear. Because fear does amazing things. And if you get triggered by it, you're screwed.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. What I learned in my religious studies is that most of our differences lie in our language choice and our different definitions that we have for whatever words we use. Even the concept of God, we understand, Muslims are going to say Allah, but, African Christians or Christians who speak Aramaic or a similar language also use Allah. But if you say Allah to a Southern Baptist Christian, they might say, well, that's not the God I serve. My response will always be, you talk like there's more than one.
Now, I've heard you say that, and I love that because that, to me, that's the truth with a capital T. I've done this podcast now maybe 20, 21 times, I forget. And, folks like yourself, spiritual leaders, thought leaders, rabbis, Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, Baha'i, faith homes. And I'm always about 10 or 15 minutes into the conversation when it becomes crystal clear to me that we are all the same, not just as human beings, but in our beliefs. If you're talking about compassion and you're talking about faith and devotion and love and respect and all these wonderful words that we use, all the religions I've bumped into so far are identical. And so that what really aggravates me is when people become very narrow, and we'll call it tribal, and there's mine, and then there's yours over there. And then you get the fanning of the flames of fear.
I say something, if I could say this really quick.
Yeah.
None of the religions to me are religions, right? When we talk about what does the word religious mean? Religious means anything that you do habitually. So people, I say people go to the gym religiously, people smoke religiously, people lie religiously, people give religiously. Anything that you do habitually is your religion. So when we're talking about religion, we're not actually talking about Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, Baha'i. We're not talking about, those are not religions. Those are classifications. The religion is what you do every day. It's the
Amen.
practice. You know what I mean? So if you start to look at the practices of these religions, they do be all the same. They do be scripture reading, prayer, meditation, right? Some form of prayer or meditation, some form of fasting, some form of giving. All of this is a part of these practices are wrapped up in these religions. All of them. And so, truly, if a person is truly practicing their classification and that classification is connected to the one God principle, then you really wouldn't be able to tell them apart in their spirit. Now, you might see somebody doing yoga or see somebody else doing salat, and you'll be able to tell the difference. But in their spirit, you shouldn't be able to.
100%. And my heroes are people that do not differentiate. So when I look at the Dalai Lama, his best friends are Muslims, his best friends are Christians, his best friends are Buddhists, his best friends are Hindus. These are the guys he likes to literally hang out with, have a conversation, and laugh, because they see eye to eye on what's important. They read different books, they have different scriptures, they have different prayers, they have different, like you said, yoga versus salat, whatever. But at the end of the day, they're the same. So yeah, no, and I loved reading that about you and hearing that in your music, as well as other interviews. I want to talk a little bit about fear, because that's one of my favorite topics. So how do African Americans today deal with fear? Because I go to the grocery store, late at night, I drive there, I drive back. I'm not thinking about much other than going back and forth to the grocery store. But from all the crazy stuff that's happening now, there's obviously a secondary agenda for African Americans, which is, hey, let's stay alive. So how do they do it? How do you guys do it? Because you can't address. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna be honest, bro. I don't feel comfortable speaking for all African Americans.
Okay, of course. How do you work with it?
How do I handle it?
Do you not think about it? Is it on your mind? Is it on the back of your mind, front of your mind? You're not thinking about it.
I don't typically allow myself to deal. If I get right. For example, I have a belief. My belief is that all things are working for my good. That God brought me here for a purpose. And as long as I stay tapped in and connected to the Spirit of God, that both my life and my death are connected to my purpose. I've dealt with death, right? I've dealt with it. I don't have no fear of that, nor do I have a fear of living. So I just wake up every day and live, knowing that the day that I leave, it was the day that I was supposed to go. What I love about the Quran is the Quran teaches, and right, this isn't me propagandering for Quran. This is my teaching. This is what I understand. That whether you are in the field fighting or in the house on your couch, if it is your due date,
Yep.
you're going home.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to the next place. And so that allows me to walk out of my house every day with a level of trust that if I tapped in, if I got my spiritual time in the morning with God, that I'm aligned. You know what I mean? I'm aligned with where I'm supposed to go. That's a peace. And that's a love that comes from Creator or Source that allows me to just, kind of walk and move and breathe and be the way I want to be and love the way I want to love. And if I encounter something that isn't aligned with that love, yes, it can trigger. Yes, it can throw me off. But I'm personally not a person who's going to sit in that too long. Because, for example, a few weeks ago, and I'll tell the story, but I'll keep it real. A few weeks ago, this is all connected. A few weeks ago, someone broke into my car, they took my frat brother's book bag out of my backseat and then went into the trunk and took my book bag. In my book bag was my personal laptop, my personal iPad, my work computer, my work phone, some other items. But my technology is gone. It frustrated me. It did leave me feeling a little vulnerable. It did leave me feeling a little violated. And I sat in that for all of a day and a half, but working through it, right? Not just sitting in it, but working through it, doing everything that I needed to do to make sure that my cards and my money and my identity and stuff was protected, and figuring out how to get new stuff and what the process is going to look like. And, ultimately I went out. I didn't have time to wait for the insurance. So I went ahead and went out and just bought a new iPad, a new computer, and then followed up with the insurance company and was able to use my renter's insurance to replace my stuff.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Not only did I have renter's insurance, but I also had replacement insurance. So even though my computer was as old as a 2010, because I have replacement insurance and I got a new computer, they're going to reimburse me the difference between the depreciation value and what the new computer costs. This is super key, right? I started to give God thanks and praise, even though it happened. The first thing I said was, God, I'm grateful because at least I had the money to replace it. I'm grateful that they didn't break my window. I started to look for all the reasons I was grateful. Yesterday was the first time that I've looked at my yearly goals. I make yearly goals every year. It's the first time I've looked at my yearly goals for 2 months. And it's been a while because there's been some things happening in my family. We've lost some loved ones. I look at the goal yesterday and I'm almost in tears at the gratitude that I have for God, because my yearly goals are broken down into months. And even though I hadn't looked at them in 2 months, I was reminded yesterday that I told myself I was going to buy a new computer in July. Now, the thing that is most important here is that not only did I get a new computer, but because of how the situation happened, I didn't even have to pay for it. The fact that someone took it, now, of course, I pay my insurance every month, but the fact that someone took it and I had the proper insurance to pay for it, not only did I get my new computer, but I got a brand new computer. I had a 2010. I got a brand new computer. And so that's how my life is. And when God has shown up for me that way over a period of time, it creates a trust between the Creator and me that says, I already know you got me. So whatever may appear to be negative that comes my way, I'm going to find something in it to give you gratitude, because I know that it's all going to work out for my good.
Beautiful. So the first thing I heard is, hey, I don't let myself get suckered in and sucked into the fear mentality. That's the first thing that I heard, which is beautiful. It's because you're on another line. You're connected with your devotion to God. So there might be ways that people can get fearful, but out the gate, I'm not on that track. And then the second thing is, hey, this supposedly bad thing happened, and clearly, it does, but you also didn't get sucked into that too badly, because you say, hey, I worked through it. I'm not going to let get me down. I worked through it, and guess what? Look what happened. I got a new computer. It's better. It's new. It's so you're able to work it out for the better. It reminds me of a story of the Zen master farmer where he goes to take out the crops, and he sends his son out to the barn to go get the horses, take out the crops and the harvest, and gets to the barn, and the horses are gone. All the village people come over. Oh, what bad luck you have, Zen master farmer. All the horses are gone. Now you can't take in the harvest. Good luck, bad luck, maybe. So his son goes out into the valley, finds the horses, and there's a couple of other horses there, brings them all back. So they got even more horses. Oh, village people, oh, what good luck you have, Zen master farmer. Now you have so many horses. Now you're going to be wealthy. He goes, well, good luck, bad luck, maybe. And then, while putting the horseshoes on the horse, the son gets kicked in the chest and breaks his ribs, has to go to the hospital. Oh, what bad luck you have. Short version. Country goes to war. They subscript all the young men. He can't go to war, which is where everyone gets killed, because he's in the hospital. What good luck you have. Meaning we don't know what's going to happen, what the ramifications are of any one thing. So it seems like, oh, my car got broken into. Bad luck. What bad luck you have, Yusha Assad. Well, good luck, bad luck, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the difficulty in that, right, is that the Black experience in America is so saturated with stories and truths around intentional destruction. Like, if you really watch what has happened to Black people in America, it looks like, it don't look like it is. Like, history will tell the story. Every time Black people tried to make a move towards independent and tying up our bootstraps and elevating, some group of white supremacists saw Black success as white failure and did everything they could to prevent it. Yes, I walk with the spirit of love and trust in the Most High. It doesn't dissipate the idea. It doesn't take away the idea that Black people have to even consider the things that we have to consider, right? It doesn't take that away at all. And I don't want my statement to make anybody feel like, oh, okay, well, if all Black people could be like that, but why should we have to? Right? We shouldn't have to.
Right.
Now,
it's like walking around with, let's race, except we're going to put 10 pounds on your right foot and 10 pounds on your left foot. Go.
And you say to the one with the extra weight who has a positive attitude, like, I know I got the extra weight, but I'm still going to run extra hard, and I believe that I'm just going to do my best. You say, what great positive attitude to have. I wish all people could have his attitude. That I don't want people to get that mindset. I do have a positive attitude, but please believe, if I get these weights off my back, right, I'm going to have an opportunity to fulfill my full capacity. And it doesn't mean that I don't have weight on my back. It just, I know for sure that the Creator has created laws. And I know that I'm putting the right things into the universe, into the world, into the soil that's going to be long-term, that's going to have a long-term benefit for me and my family. And what I would caution people on is that the laws, like the law of gravity, it works whether you believe in it or not. So if you think it's okay to allow fear to cause you to hurt other people, and in this conversation, specifically Black folks in America, there will come a time when the universe will serve you justice. So make sure your spirit is right. And that is both that can be a communal idea, but I think that's for every individual who's listening or watching, who's tapping in. How have you showed up to love yourself today? How have you showed up to love someone else in humanity? And specifically in America, how have you showed up to love someone across the color line? Because that's the problem that we deal with.
Amen. So from a Buddhist perspective, we call it the law of karma. Very simple. Everything we say, do, think, feel has a consequence. And sometimes it's immediate. I punch you in the face, you punch me back. I shoot a gun, they take me to jail. And sometimes it's not immediate, but it will play itself out at some point. So yeah, we believe in the law of karma as well. Now, your various professions as a musician, a hip hop artist, a businessman, an educator, allows you to communicate spiritually, your beliefs through your music, your words. Do you feel like you have a responsibility to get your message out? Message of truth, compassion, health, confidence in one's ability, healing. Do you feel compelled to do that? Do you do it, because I like it? Do you, no, I'm getting paid for it. I do it for the money. I mean, what is your motivation?
Bro, I wrote a song when I was 18 years old. By the time I was 24, every word that I put in that song came true. And it was when I truly realized that music is spiritual. I don't put spirituality into the music. The music is spiritual. Everything we speak out of our mouths, the vibrational frequency of every word that we utter connected to music creates a vibration in the universe that is always creative. We know that, right? So the song that I spoke about was a song about a young man who was doing everything he could to raise his family, but was facing difficulty. At 24 years old, I was a young man. From 18 to 24, at 24 years old, I was a young man doing everything I could to provide for my family. The exact story I wrote came true. And so what I realized is that when I write music, it's okay for me to tell the story in the moment. But what I specifically need to always do is write the vision for where I see myself going in the music. I mean, I can tell the story in a moment. I can be like, this is happening to me right now, but this is where I'm going. And I always write the this is where I'm going part, because I've learned that whatever I write comes true. And so, people could say, you write motivational, inspiring stuff for others. I'm trying to write my own life into existence. And hopefully you'll follow suit. You know what I mean? And you'll follow suit, I also write lyrics right from a standpoint because I know that they have creative power that help people like to grow, right? So for my last album, which is called Working and Winning, which is an affirmation-based album, it is really spiritual. It's 15 songs, which is 7 and 7. And in the middle, there's one track, right? So that's the 15th song, but it's in the middle. It's called Law. That's what the whole album is about. It's about the idea that I can speak things into existence. Every song before that and every song after that is some kind of expression of this idea. So for example, the first song on Working and Winning is called Amazing. Right in the middle of Amazing, there's a bridge where it goes, I'm amazing, 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 amazing. The sister's singing that, right? She's the singer, she's singing that. But I wrote that. And I wrote that because I wanted everyone who was listening to it to sing with it and affirm themselves. You know what I'm saying? Yep. The whole album is written like that. The second song, Dope, is about being able to define your dopeness, right? The flawless, I'm flawless. It could sound braggadocious to the untrained ear, but if you understand what I'm doing, I literally want you to repeat these words so that you affirm yourself. And it's about elevating the spirit and the consciousness of a person. I had a friend tell me, he was like, man, I like your Working and Winning idea. But he was like, man, for real, I don't know if that's really what the people need, right? They don't need this braggadocious idea of working and winning, right? Because in his mindset, working was about getting money and winning was about having the spoils of your money. But when I really broke it down for him, I was like, well, working and winning for me wasn't about that. It includes that, but it wasn't about that. Working was about the idea that I woke up this morning. And if I woke up this morning, then I have all of the faculties that I need to be successful. I can hear, I can see, I can smell, I can taste, I can feel. That means that I can produce and win. And the reason why this was an important concept is because I worked for a time in 5 years in workforce development, where every single day, mothers who were on TANF, temporary assistance for needy families, coming into my training room, and I hate the word training, but that's the context I'm gonna give you, came into my facility looking for me to help them get a job. And what I realized very quickly was that the process of helping them write a resume, helping them understand how to write resume questions, how to answer interview questions, how to dress. This was simple, very simple. It is not hard to get a resume done. It is not hard to teach people how to answer these questions. The hardest part about the job was elevating the spirit of the person to believe that they deserve to have it. And the only way to do that was to get them to see that your purpose in life is not relegated to where you show up and work every day. That doesn't define you. You have to define the work that you do for yourself. Perfect that work. And then if you find a company who's doing similar work, then join their team if you like and work with them, or start your own company. But don't allow yourself to believe that because you woke up this morning and didn't have a job to go to, that you don't have a purpose to fulfill. No, the work that you do is the work that the Creator sent you here to do. And if you can figure that work out, the Bible says your gift and your talents can make a way for you. If you can figure that work out, you can win. And that's the whole premise of everything that I do in the music, is to elevate the spirit and the consciousness of people so that they can walk in their power, so that they can walk out of their house every day trusting that all things are going to work out for their good, because they've been putting in the right energy for karma to love up on them.
So I can't think of anything better than that. There's nothing better that, yeah, you could feed people, that's good too. But to raise someone's spirit or to get them to shift their state of mind from low to high, or from low to a believer, or to, not that we're trying to convert people, but just to inspire and raise them up so that they can see what's possible, or that everything's possible. I don't see anything better than that. I had a similar experience where I used to work at International Rescue Committee, IRC. It's one of the largest NGOs in the world. And refugees would come in from all over the world, and they needed the same thing. They needed the resume, interview skills. But the most important thing they needed was this ability to believe that they could get the job, do the job, that kind of thing. And because anyone can teach them the resume and this and that, that's great. But that sense of changing their state of mind, I think, was probably the most valuable thing that you can give someone.
Yeah, we call it, me and my team have coined it spiritual economics.
Okay.
We don't call it workforce development no more. We call it spiritual economics.
Yeah, love it.
Teaching you the spiritual laws of God and how to walk in power and intentionality with everything you say and everything you do.
Yeah. So one of the words that came to my mind was transformation. And I believe this is a quote from you. We can fight and they win, or we can transform our anger and transcend. Martin Luther King Jr. or Gandhi, and it ain't easy. It's a lot harder than being angry and fighting. So once again, transforming anger and transcending. It's all, state of mind. Can we talk a little bit about the state of education?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I heard you speak about it on a video, taking our power back, the state of black education as an educator. I kind of know the answer, but I'm going to let you answer it. So why are you so interested in education? I mean, there's lots of ways we can help people, I could work for a food bank. I could work for, help people get jobs. I have a similar interest, but I'm curious where you're coming from.
Well, I want to give you this story, right? So I had an opportunity to go to 2 high schools growing up. One high school was in my hometown where I was born, which was, it was a mixed high school, but it was pretty much low economics. There was some more well-to-do families in there, affluent families in there, but it was pretty much low social economics, and there's a lot of blacks. And I went to another school in another county about 20 minutes away as well than my high school tenure. And that high school was pretty much the same, but because of the county it was in, it received better resources. And so I went back to my hometown my senior year to graduate because all my family was there. I wanted to be there to graduate. And I'm sitting in my English class one day, and my English professor was just a teacher, not professor, because we were in college. We were in high school, was asking questions. and I was answering everyone. Simple, right? But to me, they were very simple questions, clear, concise questions that you can see in the book. I had some cousins in that class with me, and one of my cousins was like, dang, it's like, bro, you really got it for real. You super smart. And I looked at him and was like, thank you, but you smart too. He was like, no, I ain't got it like you. And I'm looking at the book, and it was the first time that I realized that the educational system was jacked up and that groups of people were going to be left at a educational deficit, in a sense, because of the county that they lived in, the amount of money that was poured into schools, which I didn't know all that at the time. All I knew was that I'm sitting in a class with cousins who I love, who can't do the work that I can do. And the only reason I can do it is because I went to another school. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time I saw educational disparity. I get to college, HBCU in North Carolina, the Winston-Salem State University. And I started reading books like The Souls of Black Folks by W.E.B. Du Bois, The Miseducation of Negro by Carter G. Woodson. And I started to see how the educational system was literally set up for Black people to perpetuate slavery. Mm-hmm. It was to perpetuate a subservient mind. When I went into education through a program that I worked in, and I began to teach myself, I started to realize that the educational system was so jacked up that it was not only that way for Black people, it was really that way for all people. The public educational system is set up to create subservient mindsets. It's not set up to produce human actuality, right? As we would talk about in psychology, the highest form of consciousness is to have self-actualization. Mm-hmm. School isn't set up to help you self-actualize. It's only set up to help you meet the status quo of what somebody else likes so that you can get a job and mm-hmm. have a successful life. Mm-hmm. But that stifles the creativity of individuals because it says that your creativity is only important if somebody will give you a job for it. And it takes away the opportunity. It takes away the idea that your creativity is important if you can help somebody with it. School don't teach that. And there's a lot of students who are getting lost in the system. This is what I say. I have two analogies. I say the public education system is like a big t-shirt. Everybody can put it on, but it doesn't really fit anyone. Mm-hmm. My second analogy is because I come from North Carolina where there's a lot of textile industries and factories, is that the public education system is like an assembly line, right? I worked in the factory before. I worked third shift in the factory in Breesville, North Carolina. And any product that came down that assembly line, if there was a scratch on the product, if the plastic was put on wrong, anything that we saw wrong, that product, we considered it to be defective. And if it's defective, we throw it off the line. It gets discarded. Well, it's the same way with the public education system. It goes through and it says, hey, we have a formula of how people should come out of this thing. And if you don't come out of this thing exactly like we say, you're defective and we throw you away. Mm-hmm. Where are they throwing people? They're throwing people into the welfare system. They're throwing people into the prison pipeline. They're throwing people away because they don't fit the mold. Well, what is the mold? The mold is middle-class white man. That's the mold of the public education system. Mm-hmm. Middle-class white man. And the closer you can resemble middle-class white man, mm-hmm. the more you can be successful in America. If you don't mm-hmm. resemble middle-class white man, you potentially can get tossed aside.
Mm-hmm. Higher likelihood of getting tossed aside. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not education.
Yeah. So two things I'm hearing. One is there's a huge deficit in the resources that are provided to Black communities in education, lower economic status communities as well. We're just not going to give you everything that we can give the people over there, where they have music classes and they have all these creative, we're just going to give you the basics. Maybe not even that. Maybe you don't even get the right books or enough books or whatever it is. You just don't get the right money. You just don't get the right amount of money. And then the second thing is, hey, if you don't fit what the mold that we think you should fit, whether it's to get a good job and be a lawyer or a doctor or this or that, then you're outside and you're more likely to fall behind, be ignored, fall into, like you said, not fall, but prison, homelessness, that kind of thing, because you don't fit our vision.
And there's space, right? Not to cut you off, there's space. Yeah, there's space here for somebody to say, Well, that makes sense. That's the game you got to play. You gotta fit the mold so that you can get a job. No, that ain't the game you got to play, because the creator who put all of us here with our own individual fingerprint of 8 billion people on the planet right now, and everybody has their own fingerprint, did not create us to fit anybody else's mold. He created us to fit the mold that he sent us here in this universe for. And my real means of success is not connected to my ability to fit somebody else's mold. If I'm really talking spirituality, my real means of success is to tap into my own spirit, to learn what it looks like to trust my own internal compass and create the thing that I was sent here to create, that only I can create, to help everybody in the world. What happens if I operate, right, in my uniqueness, but then use it as a means to love the world? I teach my students that. I teach them, I said, what happens if you stop trying to fit in? You figure out what makes you unique. You perfect that thing, and then you love up on the world with it at $1 a person, which is practically giving it away. How rich would you be if you could figure out how to love every single person on the planet with your gift for $1?
Yeah. So my experience growing up was I was told I was going to be, like you said, the typical, attorney. You had 3 or 4 choices. That's all you had. And as a result, I grew up, that and a number of other reasons, grew up relatively unhappy because the school system was training you for that way. And my son, so I try to be different. When he went to high school, he went to a public school after, I think when he was 14, 15 years old. He walked in and he said, walked in and he said, stayed for 2 hours, and he drove home and said, Dad, I'm not going to make it through that. Because he was not interested in learning history. There's nothing wrong with history. He's a musician like yourself. He's actually a production engineer and audio engineer and a musician. And he's just, I'm not interested in any of that. And I just know I'm not going to do the work, and I know that I'm going to fail. So why are we going to put myself through all this? It took me about 20 minutes. So he went to high school for 2 or 3 hours, drove back, lays this on us. It took him about 20 minutes. I said, oh, not a problem. So he went and got his, whatever it's called, you take a test. And then he went down the music path. And I remember getting a lot of flack about that from, friends and relatives. What do you mean he's not going to high school? What do you mean he went to study audio engineering and become a musician? What do you mean? What do you mean? I was like, hey, I already know he was miserable before he even went into the school. So why are we, but I couldn't really, but I thought, hey, maybe he'll make it through. But I wasn't going to perpetuate it once he came back and said, hey, this is not going to work. So what bothers me about education, and I have a different perspective, I agree with your perspective, but my perspective is, in order to be an educator or teacher, you need 2 ingredients. You need to be open-minded and you need to be compassionate. Everything else is secondary. Everything else can be taught. In my world, I didn't have open-minded teachers. I didn't have compassionate teachers. So you wanted to play the game, you had to play it their way or not. I managed to get through it. My son didn't. He just took a different path. In some ways, in my mind, more successful than me, because he got to create, like you said, music and use his potential. That didn't happen. So you're looking at education from an infrastructure perspective, which I agree with. You don't give enough money. How are we going to educate these people? How's that going to work?
The richest people in the world will tell you really quick, and I've read the books, right? We don't send our kids to school. We hire private tutors. We let travel be their education. But that's a level of, first I want to say, wow, right? Wow, Mordy, wow, to stop and to listen to your son, to listen to him, to help him still get the foundational thing that he needed, which is take the test, GED, whatever he got, take the test.
Right, that's it, right, exactly.
Get your foundation, get that. But I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to let you create your path. Right? To listen, wow, right? What a great move as a father. Despite what everybody else would have to say about you, what a great move.
Yeah.
Black and brown children in America don't have that privilege. See what I'm saying? They don't have that privilege. And the parents who are working and striving every day just to make ends meet don't have that privilege. And that's not to say that you don't make ends meet, but even down to this idea, right? My ability to make it happen is directly connected to some company that is most likely the CEO is not a Black person. To trust my black self to do the work if I don't have a high school diploma, or if I don't have the highest marks possible, if I don't have a bachelor's or master's or doctorate degree. We're taught that we need that for the other nationalities to trust us enough to give us a job. And even then, they're on our tails every day and they're sending emails about us when we don't meet their expectations.
Yeah, the odds are, the dice are weighted against you in that regard.
So to win, you have to have it in your spirit. You have to have the spiritual awareness and the trust that if you step out on faith and start your own business to serve your people, then to serve more people, and then to serve anybody who believes in your business. Because if we talk about spirituality, what did Jesus say? Jesus said, I can save those who believe. He thought he was only sent for the Jews, but he learned very quickly that he was sent for everybody who would give faith. That's the same thing for a business owner. I might start to serve my people, but ultimately I could serve anybody who believes in what I offer. That doesn't get taught in school. It does not get taught in school that if you can't find your thing, that you can create your thing.
Yeah, so the school's charter is, we're going to make these molded children and let's just bang them out. What they're not teaching, I look at it similarly, is they're not teaching people how to be happy or how to be free. And that's much more, or how to live their lives, how to deal with stress, how to deal with anxiety. That is, to me, should be the main charter of a school. And along the way, we're going to teach you math. We're going to teach you how to read. Absolutely. But that's not necessarily going to make you happy or liberated or free. That's kind of why I have this whole big thing about education and meditation and dealing with stress and anxiety. Because you look around the people of this country, they're total, especially now with the pandemic, 80% of the people have mental health issues from being locked up for a year and a half. No one knows how to deal with that.
Mordy, I'm laughing, bro, because you said something that was so pivotal. Like, it's so important that you said it. I'm glad you said it. You said it's not teaching people. The first word you said, happiness. I'm like, happiness is internal. People got to find that. And then you said free, and I laughed. And the reason why I said free is because why would a country who got its strong and very quick economic growth off free labor and then off cheap labor ever teach anybody to be free?
Well, and it's not just that, but it's also free land. We came over from whatever, England or wherever we came from, and hey, let's take over this land from the Native American Indians. So you got free land and free labor. Ain't
a free economy. It's a
yeah. So agreed. But here we are, and what do we do now? How do we fix it? And in my mind, the way to fix it is to change the charter of the school system. Good luck with that, especially public school. But because I think the people that are graduating, kids that are graduating, the odds are against them from being free in their mind. And happiness is, I don't like the word happiness because that can mean a lot of things. That can mean externally motivated happiness, which comes and goes, as opposed to internal. They're not being taught spirituality. I'm not talking about religion. They're not being taught compassion. They're not being taught, let's help others, whatever. Maybe they're teaching that in some religious schools. I went to religious school. They didn't teach me that.
Well, these kids have it. but they have it in word they have it in knowledge. They don't have it in wisdom, right? Because we know wisdom is knowledge plus experience.
Mm-hmm.
But these kids, they have the word manifest. They have the word vibrate. They have the word wave and consciousness. They have these words. They use these words. They don't necessarily have it in context. And I know because I still be in the schools. Now, why do they have it? They have it because artists, musicians, movie makers have been telling the stories of spirituality. One of my favorite movies is the movie called Arrival,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's Arrival where, have you seen the movie Arrival?
No.
Right, it's these aliens, right, in the movie it's these aliens arrive and they're trying to communicate with the people on Earth, but the people on Earth are just super afraid. They're super scared. And because they're afraid, they're trying to like use bombs to blow up the aliens.
Of course.
But there's one particular woman who's like, no, like they're trying to communicate with us. Let's talk to them. And by studying the language that the aliens are using a language that's based off a circle. And there's all of their letters are like a circle with some variation of the circle.
I did see the movie. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
What I love about that movie, right, is when they learn the language of the aliens and speak it, they can see in the past and they can see in the future. Which tells us, right, to me, this is what that movie told me, because I'm always looking for the deep spiritual meaning, is that language, what I learned from that movie is that we use language incorrectly. We often use language to explain things. We should use language to create things. Because that's what that movie was telling us, that how can I see in the future by using this particular language? Because language creates future. What you speak, right? The Bible says life and death has power in the tongue. What you speak has a vibrational frequency that once you speak it out of your mouth, it goes into the universe and begins to establish, especially if you put strong meaning and faith behind it. I was just talking about that with a friend on my way to this podcast. I was like, it's funny that people don't understand that every word you say out of your mouth has a vibrational frequency that once it hits the universe, it's created. So that energy is reinforced by the emotion you put behind your speech. We know this. I'm telling her this, right? And I dropped the bar, and I love the bar. I said, so it's funny to hear people talk about their dreams nonchalantly, but they complain about their problems with vigor and passion and wonder why they keep reliving the pains.
Right. Yeah. So, I think the other side of that coin is being able to listen. So it's really a communication issue, because if I'm not paying attention and listening, but I'm busy judging you, interrupting you, disagreeing with you, cutting you off, and we see that now in this country where no one wants to listen to the other side. That's, to me, 80 to 90% of the problem that's out there. So the inability to listen, be in the moment with compassion. I don't have to agree with you, but I need to listen. And that's not happening.
Yeah, so I agree with that. That's why my music platform is so special, right? So my business is called With Great Care. It's not just music, but of course we have apparel. I have on one of my hats right now. It's called With Great Care. And the premise is that we don't just strive to do great things. We do all things with great care, purpose, and intention. Every individual, person, organization, international organization should think critically about what they do, why they do it, and how they can do it in a way that's beneficial for more than just themselves, but ultimately beneficial for the most amount of people possible, right, for the world. We believe that operating in this spirit, right, of not just looking to be great, but to do everything you do with great care, purpose, and intention is connected to the improvement of the world. It's how an individual self-actualizes, right? And it's how the world gets to a better place. For example, even you and I here now, you're talking about listening. There's opportunity for you and I, even in this moment, to have communication breakdown because you say something that I have a definition for what you said and you have a definition for what you said, and I could be offended, even triggered, right? Or vice versa. But if I allow myself to have this conversation with great care, purpose, and intention, if I listen, if I hear you, right? If I don't assume, but actually ask you questions about a thing and allow you to define the things for yourself without defining it, then I can, as an act of love, right? I can show appreciation for your perspective, even if I don't agree. See what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%. So, and that's part of listening as well, is like you said, asking questions. I don't quite understand that. I don't quite, please, can you clarify that without judging? We're so quick to assume and judge. I know what you're thinking. I barely know what I'm thinking half the time. I'm going to start thinking about his motivation is that it's like, excuse me. So, and that's where I think, and listening for me is very hard to do well, but I don't see any other way to go through life, because otherwise you're just busy judging and snipping and snapping, and it's like it's a waste of time, waste of energy. And by the way, so I went to your website. So you have several of them. So just for people that are listening, it's one of them, wgcapparel.com. Beautiful, beautiful apparel there. So I recommend it highly. I was going to ask you about the, with great care, your brand. Love the name as well. Want to talk a little bit about your music. So I was listening to Heal Me, listened to it maybe 15 times already. Talk about mental health. I loved it. I found it very sad. The things that family, teachers, culture, what we teach our kids, some of the lessons you learn growing up. Real men don't feel, that kind of thing. Don't apologize. People think you're weak if you express your pain. You want to talk a little bit about Heal Me, or?
Yeah. So when I write, I have a formula when I write music. My formula is what I call CIC, C-I-C, connect, inspire, and challenge. The goal is to use a real life story to connect. Then, and once we get people to connect, to inspire people, either by saying something new or saying something that they've heard before and just adding different concepts to it. And then lastly, challenging people by challenging myself. I don't challenge others, right? I don't tell other people what to do. I challenge myself. And if people connect to that, they can be challenged. Mm-hmm. Heal Me follows that pattern, right? It's a story of not only some lessons that I learned from my father inadvertently, but also stories that just loom, one, in our community, but then two, just loom in the space of American manhood, right? And what it looks like to be forward tough as a man. But the purpose is to get brothers, men, to connect to the story so that by the time they get to the chorus, they'll sing the chorus. What's the chorus? Heal me, Father, don't nobody understand me. Mm-hmm. I will make it out unless you come down and heal me, yeah, heal me. What am I doing again? Once again, I'm getting a person to sing and verbalize the starting process to healing. Very purposely written so that they would literally scream out or sing out, heal me. And literally give the opportunity, give the universe an opportunity to start their healing process.
Brilliant.
I wrote the song to start the healing process for me.
Totally brilliant. Okay. Another song, congratulations. Celebrating the graduation from school. I love that song. Love the music. I love the visuals. Made it past 25, over 30, still alive. Things didn't go as planned. I love the gathering of the family. I assume it's a family gathering behind you as you're singing on the steps. And then
those are all my nieces and nephews.
Okay, I figured they were people you knew. So what motivated you to write that?
I was riding with my brother one day in his car. We were leaving Charlotte, North Carolina, headed to Greensboro to see my mother. I was in town. And he was telling me about some guy that he knew who said something along the terms of they should have never gave Black people money. And me and my brother had a deeper conversation about how the guy was joking, but in the midst of any joke is some truth to how they really feel. Mm-hmm. And it was at that moment that I was reminded about all the times growing up where people did not know how to celebrate others. So even if like you were a young kid and you scored a touchdown in football, you might be excited as a kid. You might be like, I scored. Somebody in your community might be like, what, you want, a cookie? Or, you know, your uncle or your big cousin might have been like, well, you still ain't did nothing. And what I wanted to do, right, because I believe in commercials, right? I'll use this for example if we can, and I don't know if you can use this in your podcast. Can I bring up other brands on your podcast?
Absolutely. This is totally, we don't edit anything out, so
right. So finish my statements, right? Ba-da-da-da-da. Do you know that one?
No, go ahead.
You don't know how to finish that one?
No.
Da-da-da-da-da. I'm loving it.
Okay.
McDonald's.
I don't know.
McDonald's. Oh, you're not connected.
Oh no, I don't. Sorry, I don't eat. We don't watch. We don't have TV. We don't watch TV. Sorry about that. But of course, I know McDonald's and Burger King, but I don't know the commercial world.
So, but TV, right? That makes so much sense. They've used TV and propaganda.
Oh yeah.
Marketing techniques for so long, and I tell students all the time: these companies, McDonald's, don't sell burgers. They don't sell burgers. They don't sell fries. They sell a belief. They sell a belief that you love it. Because you might not like the burgers, but you might love the fries, or you might love the apple pie, or you might love the McFlurry. They're selling the idea that there's something at McDonald's that you love. This is what marketing is. Marketing is the sale of a belief. And if I can get you believe what I want you to believe, I can sell you anything. Subway has a campaign around Eat Fresh. There's Subway. Why do they make pizzas? Why? Because you still think the pizza's fresh. Right? And so congratulations was a marketing campaign to teach, to literally put the words of congratulations on everybody's lips and tell them when you should say congratulations. All right. You make it past 25, somebody in your family makes it past 25, tell them congratulations. They buy a new house, tell them congratulations. They make it past 30 and they still up, tell them congratulations. I literally was creating a commercial for people so that we could change the language and have a means of celebrating each other. You know what I mean? Because in our community, I want to say this too, right? Because I could tell that story, but I want to say this. In our community, since slavery, it has not been appropriate to celebrate your success, because celebrating your success too much could have gotten you beaten by master. That ideology has then transferred into our communities, where the idea of being too successful could get you cornered and then get you killed or beaten, because that was the fear on the plantation. That fear has trickled down in our community. So when we talk about slavery is still alive and white America says, oh no, slavery is over. No, we are still dealing with the conscious beat down of the humanity of those slaves. That's still in our genetics. It's still in our consciousness. And we are working every day to get that weight off of our shoulders. And part of getting that weight is having artists like myself and other artists who are willing to embed in the art the thoughts that are needed to get us there. I need my people to know what it looks like to just say congratulations. So I wrote a song called Congratulations and told them when to say it.
Brilliant. So you did a 30-day rhyme exercise on Facebook, and I saw about half a dozen of them. So just a few quotes from them. Truth supersedes falsehood in the end. Truth is the line where revolution begins. Here's another favorite. You better learn to struggle when you're after something. So any of this sound familiar?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I don't remember where this one's from, but it struck me pretty hard. How do you keep the faith when the world is changing? So that's a tough one for me, because we all like things to be solid and hold on to them. You know, one of the foremost tenets of Buddhism is the concept of impermanence. Things change. The future is a mystery. Doesn't mean things are going to get worse, just means things are going to change. So how do you keep the faith when the world is changing? You know,
really quick on that one. You already gave us the formula for that one. You gave us the formula for that already. Oh, you must be really lucky. What was the response that he gave that in the story that you told? Oh,
Oh
you
yeah,
must be
good luck,
really
bad luck, maybe.
good luck, bad luck, maybe.
Yeah,
That's how you keep your face when the world is changing,
yeah.
right? It's whatever happens, all praise is due to the creator. All the any good that happens, thank you, God. Any bad that happens, I trust you, God. That's how you keep your face.
It's gratitude.
It's gratitude.
Gratitude keeps you real. I was going to say humble. The problem with the word humble is it has a connotation of weakness. I don't believe humble is weak, but for lack of a better word, it keeps it real. Because why not? Why shouldn't? Thank you. Look what I've got. Thank you so much. My teacher's one of his favorite phrases, a Buddhist Lama, is the past is history, the future is mystery, the present moment is a gift. So when I find that I'm busy thinking and worrying about this, that, and the other thing, I say, no, present moment is a gift. Come back to the present moment. So you're going about your day, you find yourself angry or annoyed or irritated about something. What do you do for yourself, or what advice can you give to others um, uh, to pull themselves out of that state of mind?
Uh, a few different things, man. There's a book that I like by Norman Vincent Peale called The Power of Positive Thinking. In
Sure.
that book, he tells a story about a guy who, whenever he got angry, he would lay down.
Okay.
He said it's virtually impossible to be angry when you're laying down. Um, there's also a poem by a guy. It's called "If" by Rudyard Kipling. And in that poem, it talks about if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. For real, what I know about anger and difficulty is that we can't avoid difficulty, but anger is an emotion. And anger really, I still believe in this, right? That there's only really two emotions. And if I had to sum our conversation up today, I would call it love and fear. Because we started off talking about religion and how religion uses fear, but we then also talked about how the answer to all of this is doing things with great care, which is really love, right? Doing things in the spirit of love. Even gratitude is about love, love and giving love to the creator. And so what I would always tell people in this perspective is that anger is really fear. It's you being afraid that because somebody did or said something that you're afraid now that you won't be valued. And out of that fear, you give anger as a response to trying to reclaim your validation. The truth is, everything that we want in life is connected to gratitude and love, which is why I tell people often, right? And I mean this, and I'm saying this, take it back. And it's in the music too. Like if you listen to my song 10, 10 on the Working and Winning album kind of talks about this. Even when we talk about race relations in America, every part of the fight is important. I just know my specific role. My role isn't to fight. My role isn't to protest. But the protest is important because it makes people listen. The fight is important because it makes people listen. My role is to build. And what I need to build to help African American people in America needs to be built with such love, such care, such purpose, and such intention that other nationalities will look at what was built and say, this is amazing. How did you build this? And the answer will simply be with great care. The reason why that's important in the context of how you get past anger, because anger is a momentary focus of something that happened in the moment, but love is always focused on where you know you're going. Love is always bigger than the moment. But it is love is bigger than the moment, but it is the moment. And so I'm always able to show up in love because I see what you see not. I know what you know not. And I will never allow a person's actions in any particular moment to cause me to forget what God has already shown me my life is. Now, everybody's not going to say that they have that ability because not everybody can say that they can see where their life is going. Not everybody can say that they have vision about their life. How did I get vision about my life? My religious practice. You know what I mean? My religious practice, my faith, my belief. And what did that faith and that belief do? It allowed me to tap in to my spirit and why the creator created me and why I'm here. I'm also a mathematician. In math, you learn how to do predictions. That's early elementary. You learn predictions. You learn to look at patterns, and based off the patterns you see, you can tell where something is going. You can tell where a number sequence is going. Well, if we call it karma or we call it the law of cause and effect, you can look at patterns, you can see where things are going. And based on the patterns and the things that I've been putting into the earth, I can see where my life is going. The same way I can hear someone talking about their life and having a conversation about their life, and I can see where they could potentially go based off the pattern that they're following. Patterns can also give us predictions. That's how I get over anger and fear. I trust and I know that what's happening in the moment isn't going to derail me from where I'm going.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So, yeah, it's really your devotion and your connection with God that grounds you, so that when someone says something nasty or you get irritated or annoyed, it doesn't stay with you, because you know that that's just, water off a duck's back, so to speak.
But it's also love, right? I teach my daughter every morning, love is something that you do. Love is an action. It's something that you do to show appreciation and understanding. Appreciation when a person is doing really well, understanding when they're not. Here's the thing. Everything that happens is a pattern. If you say something nasty to me out of love, right, I can quickly recognize that what you said to me just now was a pattern of what's already in you. You're not trying to hurt me because I did something to you. You're trying to hurt me because you hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You're hurting already.
Mm-hmm.
There's a pattern of hurt in your life, and you're letting out what's in you. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't protect myself if you're trying to harm me. But outside of you trying to harm me, I'm not about to allow your pain to become my pain. Get out of here with that. That's crazy. No, I'm not about to allow your pain to become my pain because you want to express some emotional breakdown because somebody hurt your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if you look at, like, we've talked about so much about white supremacy, but even like in the disconnect between black and white folks in America. But, like, I mean, the truth is that all of the pain that's being spewed out, even if it's racial pain, that pain is internal.
Mm-hmm.
That pain is internal. That's people who are hurting on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that all the time about white supremacists. They hurting. They might say, no, we're not hurting. No, you hurting, because if you were truly happy, you'd be out here creating the life that you desire, that you want to live, not trying to figure out how to stop somebody from creating theirs.
Yeah.
Hurting.
Yeah, and our former president Trump really tuned into that pain that they felt and fanned it into great fear.
So he could get elected. He was smart. That guy is smart.
Smarter than he looks.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately. Last question. Who inspires you, or who are your heroes, alive or dead?
All of the prophets. All of the prophets mentioned in the great Bibles, in scriptures, and from Adam all the way to Muhammad and even men after him. Malcolm X. I've studied and read Malcolm X teachings, and I got a chance to see Malcolm X's transition from Detroit Red, from Malcolm Little to Detroit Red, to Malcolm X, to El Hajj Malik Shabazz. My brothers, my big brothers, man, they are incredible human beings. They are 15 and 11 years older than me, and I've watched them shake the weight of American society off over the years to reach the levels of success that they want to. They are my first examples, real life examples of you can live the life that you want to live. Just go get it, hustle and go get it. My father in life and in death inspires me. My extended brothers, right? The brothers that didn't come from my mother, but other believing men that I know who walk upright, who wake up every day and seek communion with God and then walk in that power, who walk with conviction in their life and everything that they do, and who live life with great care. My sisters who do the same, my mother's children and my extended sisters who do the same, who wake up every day and give life. Women are incredible inspirers, bro. Like, they literally almost die to allow another human being to pass through the portal of existence and come into flesh. Like, that's no small thing.
It's crazy.
And the way they carried that, that's inspiring. Life is inspiring. Like, I look around me every day and I see the signs of the Creator everywhere. In my own life, in the people that I know around me, everything inspires me. Everything inspires me, because I'm always finding some way to give gratitude for it.
Yusha, you are a beautiful, beautiful man. You're very inspiring. Thank you for joining me today. I'm very glad that I met you.
Man, thank you for having me here. I appreciate you reaching out and making this a thing, and following your heart, your intention, and putting this here. Whatever good that comes from it, all credit goes to the Most High. And if I said anything that was offensive, I'll take that one. But all of
Amen.
God.
I love you, man. Thank you so much.
Love you too, brother. Appreciate you.
Take care.
Blessings.
I hope you enjoyed our talk with Yusha Assad. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the It's Not What You Think podcast. That really helps us continue to produce these episodes and invite other guests from around the world. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or would like to hear any specific guests on the podcast, please share my email, mordylevine@gmail.com, or visit mordylevine.com. Remember, it's not what you think.